The purpose of this video is to give you guidance on the assignment Hofstede's model. Hofstede's model is designed to explain national cultures using the 6 dimensions: power distance, individualism, masculinity or motivation towards achievement and success, uncertainty avoidance, and long-term orientation and indulgence. A brief discussion of culture. Britannica defines culture as referring to the complex whole of human behavior, including language, ideas, beliefs, customs, institutions, rituals, and more. National culture is a blend of historical roots, ideals, values, immigration, art, literature, music, film, education, and socialization. Culture is learned and is reinforced by traditions. You can find culture in nations, work, teams, and so on. For our example, we are going to use the United States. So let's come down here. Here's your blackboard. We're going to come down to week 2 and click on that. And we'll see that it comes up and it has our instructor guidance for this week, SmartBook, SmartBook Quiz, SmartBook 4, Quiz 4. And then we have these two. This is where we're going to spend most of our time, is in the Hofstede's model assignment materials. This is where you'll see how to complete the assignment and complete the template, and then you'll come down here and submit it. So let's go ahead and click on this. So we'll see, and you're watching the video right now, it says review the video on Hofstede's 6-dimension model, which this is. Then I want you to review the sample. Hofstede 6-dimension assignment is for the minimum expectations for the assignment. Now we use Germany as the comparison country, so you're not to use Germany as your comparison country. So I'm going to click on this and it'll bring it up. And so you can see here that the template asks, what's your country? Which one are you comparing to the United States? And you'll see this one was Germany and the United States. And you'll see this little graph here. And you'll see these numbers up here. And those are the ratings of each of the 6 dimensions of the countries. And so I will make one caveat here, is that if you can't copy and paste that in, then you need to make sure that on your evaluation that you come down here and you tell me what those uh, ratings are. So, for instance, on power distance, if you can't get this, you're going to tell me that the United States is 40 and that Germany is 35. And then you're going to continue to explain the differences or similarities, but you're going to have a discussion on what this power distance means when we're talking about the United States and the other country. And it'll go through and it asks each one of them, and you'll do that analysis. Then it's going to ask you for a dimension that would be comparable between national cultures. And then you'll have 2 dimensions that could cause problems. So once I go through the explanation here, these will become a lot clearer. But this is what your completed template should look like at a minimum. Okay, so let's get out of here, close that up. Okay, so we're going to come down here and we're going to access the file on 6 dimensions model, which is right here. So I'm going to click on that. And it's going to bring up this country comparison tool. And if we scroll down here, it's going to say select a country. So we're going to decline that, and we're going to use the United States. I can either type it in or scan down here. We'll scan down. And I'm going to get this ranking or scoring on these 6 dimensions. So we have power distance, we have individualism, we have motivation towards achievement and success, we have uncertainty avoidance, we have long-term orientation, and we have indulgence. Okay, get away. So let's talk a little bit about what these are. When we talk about power distance, then we're talking about the extent to which the less powerful members of a culture or institution or organization within a country expect and accept that power is distributed unequally. So, for instance, here, the power distance in the United States is fairly low. And what that means is that we tend not to accept the differences, if you will. So it's like the person that is lowest on the totem pole doesn't necessarily fear or feel like they can't speak or be in contact with somebody that's farther up in the organization. Many cultures, it is that way to where it's very high. So you know your place, you accept the difference, and that's the way it is. And so in the United States, not so much. Okay. Then we look at individualism, and individualism is a is whenever people look after themselves and their direct family only, kind of taking care of me and my own, right? In a collectivist society, people belong in groups that take care of them in exchange for loyalty. Okay, don't get collective society as kumbaya, we all live together and love each other, etc. There is a price to be paid for that exchange in loyalty. So the United States has very high individualism. Okay, so we tend to look out after our close family. Okay, motivation towards achievement and success. This is also called masculinity. And so what this is that it tries to decide whether the society will be driven by competition, achievement, and success, with success being defined by the winner, best in the field, a value system that starts in school and continues throughout organizational life. A low score, which is consensus oriented on the dimension, means that the dominant values in society are for caring for others and a quality life. So, if you would, we do things, or people that have high individualism tend to do things for success and be recognized for it. And those that are more of a consensus oriented or low score tend to be more caring and look for quality of life issues, not so much as status. So the fundamental issue is what motivates people. Do you want to be the best, decisive, or liking what you do? Consensus. When we take a look at uncertainty avoidance, and we're here at 46, that's kind of the middle of the road. The dimension uncertainty avoidance has to do with what a society deals with, the fact that the future can never be known. Should we try to control it, or do we just let it happen? Okay. High uncertainty avoidance is the extent to which the members of a culture feel threatened by ambiguous or unknown situations and have created beliefs and institutions that will avoid this uncertainty. Okay. So we're kind of the middle of the road, United States. So we tend to be somewhat adventurous. We're not going to avoid uncertainty. We're typically going to try new things, where a culture that is very low here will avoid it. They will stay with the tried and true programs, and won't go for anything that is terribly uncertain, if they don't know what the outcome is going to be. Long-term orientation. This is another middle of the road. If you score low in this dimension, you would prefer to maintain time-honored traditions and norms while viewing any change or societal change with suspicion. Those with a culture that scores high take a more pragmatic approach. They encourage thrift and efforts in modern education to prepare for the future. Okay? So if I have a long-term orientation, I'm going to try to do things that will help me in the future. Okay, so it's a way to look how you're going to go to the future. And if you score very high on that, then I'm sorry, if you score very low on that, then you're going to pretty much stay with time honored traditions. Okay. And you'll kind of find from time to time that this uncertainty avoidance and long term orientation, they kind of travel together because they're very similar. And then last, we talk about indulgence. And the United States has a 68 here. And this is defined as the extent to which people try to control their desires and impulses based on the way they were raised. Okay, relatively weak control is called indulgent, and relatively strong control is called restraint. Cultures can, therefore, be described as indulgent or restrained. So you can see 68 is a pretty high score. So we could be, or we as a national culture can be indulgent. All right, one other thing here, and it goes along with stereotypes. Stereotypes and this ranking are very similar. Stereotypes get put together because there are enough general, things that tend to make it true that this group tends to be this way. This culture tends to be this way. But where it always fails is when you try to put the tendencies of the group on the individual. Okay, that's where your stereotypes and national cultures. But this can be helpful to get an idea because, again, culture is learned and culture is enforced by the society which it is. So we have this, and so the question becomes, so what? You have the United States that have these different tendencies. And what I want you to look at here is that if we if we go through and look at another country, then it's going to give us an idea here of our similarities and our difference. And for your assignment purposes, let's look down here. You can take a look, like for instance, where am I? If I click on power distance, it's going to give me a little write-up. So you're going to be interested in reading this about the United States and power distance. Same thing, you can click on individualism and it'll tell you what that means, okay, motivation, etc. So you can go through here and you get your scores and you can actually get a little discussion on it, which is very helpful for your assignment. Now, don't take this and cut and paste it. I want you to read about it, think about it, and put the comparison in your own words. All right. So let's come over here. And so also, if you come down here, they're going to give you a little bit of a background additional about what indulgence is. And if I come over here to power distance, they're going to give me the same thing. I can come down here and read about it. Okay. So anyway, that's just a little on that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use the BRIC countries, which are Brazil, Russia, India, and China. And they are important because they're emerging economies. And so if we go through, I'm going to show you how some of these uh, national cultures have similarities and they have uh, differences. And so let's go ahead and we'll try Brazil. And I'm going to be fairly quick about this because once you get the idea, you can do it yourself. Okay, so we're going to click on Brazil. So we come down here, and just from a quick glance, and this is why I want you to put your graph on there, I can look at that very quickly, and I know whenever you tell me the analysis, whether you're in the ballpark or not. So we take a look here, and we can see here that the power distance in Brazil is a lot more accepted. So people will tend to know their place, if you will, that they accept that somebody that's the head of an organization is there for a reason, and that they are not at that level, and so they tend to stay in their place. The United States, we don't have that. And so an issue may be if we're dealing with somebody from Brazil and we have a junior member of the team who maybe has knowledge, or maybe a junior member of the team actually is the person in charge. They tend to look at it more of who's the older, who is the more experienced, and so that may cause an issue whenever you have a conversation, because somebody that would be considered younger, a junior party in Brazil, wouldn't cross that line. So that's just something you look at. When we look at individualism, we see that Brazil is very low, so they tend to be more of a collective, whereas the United States, we're very individualistic. So collective tends to look out for others in the group as long as they maintain loyalty, and we tend to look at our own. Whenever we look at motivation, whenever we look at that, so the United States is a 62, so they're very motivated by success. Now, I'm not going to say that Brazil is not, 50. So, but they tend to be a little more motivated by taking care of others and doing what they want. The uncertainty avoidance, if you're high in uncertainty avoidance, you're going to tend to avoid things. You're going to uh, try to stay with beliefs and institutions that are going to avoid uncertainty. Whereas in the United States, we tend to not be as avoiding. We can take risk. We'll look at the future and not be overly suspicious of it. Try to adapt. Long-term orientation. Whenever we look at that, uh, you tend to plan for the future. So you're going to be thrifty. You're going to do those things that are going to uh, you're going to do the things that you need to that'll make you successful in the future. If you have a low, then you're going to maintain suspicion. Okay. So you're going to stay with time honored traditions and norms, and generally not like much change. Okay. Indulgence, they're pretty close here. So, this is the case of not being uh, very restrained. So you can take a look at this, and these are pretty common. So both societies are somewhat indulgent. And so, Brazil have carnival and that type of thing. So apparently that's a reflection of their society too. So when you take a look at this, you can come across and say, hey, these are ones that are pretty close. The ones that are different is where we'd really want to take a look where there might be an issue. This one's pretty big change. This one and this one. So if I'm looking at similarity with Brazil, I'd say, well, indulgence is, and maybe motivation here. But definitely, I'd look at power distance and uncertainty avoidance, and perhaps the individualism. So, okay, so I'm going to knock this off. Oh, let's see here. One other thing that you need to know before I go. Whenever you click on that, it's going to give you a United States and Brazil. And so, depending on what I'm on, this one I'm on power distance, it's going to give me a little write up on both. So, you can go ahead and read those and get an idea of what the differences are, the similarities. Now, I want you to read those and take those into consideration. Don't copy and paste them and put them in there. I want you to think about this too. And also, whenever you click on those, it'll come down here and it'll give you the uh, more definition on power distance. And you can do that for each one. Like for individualism, it'll give you that comparison and talk more about it here. So it's going to be that way all the way across. So I'm going to run through these next ones. So let's see. Let's go to India. Okay. Go to India and we take a look at it. And you can see here we've got similarities, 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 difference, difference, difference. Okay, so you got three here you could pick from and talk about the similarities, and you got three that you could talk about differences on there. Okay, and the same thing. You have India and United States on the individualism. You can click on power distance, and they'll give you that. Okay, let's see. Let's go to China. We got China. Click on that. And if we look at China, same deal. We have similarities, yeah, some similarities, and then we start getting into a lot of difference. One thing about India and Brazil, uh, Brazil was Western influence, and India had very much a Western influence because it was a basically a British subject for years. So they're very, very oriented towards the West. Now we're starting to get into more Asian. And so we're going to have some more differences in here. The similarities are going to be a little different. So same thing, you can come down here and look at that. Then last one here, I'm going to put Russia in. And we'll click Russia. And we take a look at this and you go, well, what could be the problem? I mean, there is almost exact opposites. So whenever you sit there and you think about this, the problems can be very much cultural, you know. Indulgence, 6820, very restrained. Okay. Long-term orientation is a little similar. Uncertainty avoidance, almost no uncertainty is accepted here. Okay. Motivation towards success, difference. Individualism, different. And power distance, quite a bit. Okay. So sometimes when you look at these things and you go through, it can explain some things. Why have the United States and Russia always been on opposing sides? Those type of things. So that's kind of interesting. Okay. So let's get out of that. And we're going to go back to our assignment. Okay, so we've done that. Then you've gone through and looked at this. Now, you're going to do the same thing. You're just going to pick your country and do the analysis. Pretty straightforward on that. Just remember, do not use Russia. Just remember, don't use Brazil, Russia, India, China, or Germany. Those were ones that I used, for example, and this was the example paper. Okay. So you're going to go through, complete the assignment in the Word document with the template, and then you submit the completed template in the model or assignment Hofstede's model link, which I'll show you here. And just real quickly, I'm going to click on this template. It's going to show it to you right there. And it's pretty small, but by the time you fill it up, it'd be pretty big. You just download it, save it to your hard drive, flash drive, and then you can work on it. So there. I'm going to click off on that, and that brings us down to the assignment. I'm going to click on that, and when you come over here and I've completed the assignment, I'm going to start the attempt, and you can have up to 4 submissions on this if you make a mistake. And so then you can come here and just put it in. Just go ahead and upload it. Okay, you can come over here and you can upload from the content. You can upload it, media, that type of thing. Or you can attach it from your hard drive. So there's multiple ways you can do it. You can even cut and paste it if you want. But probably the way you're going to do it is if you're saving it on the cloud, then you're going to use this. And if you're going to do an attachment on your hard drive or flash drive, you're going to use that. Okay, and I think that's what we've got for this assignment. So anyway, uh, go ahead, and if you have any questions on it, you can contact me through messages or email.